we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Alana Jordan. I go by the she, her pronouns. I am our membership and development director at Together SC. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about membership a little bit and what's been going on with us. We're going to talk about a new partnership that we have with Candid. And then we are going to get into the details of our 2023 summit that will be here in Columbia, South Carolina, and answer any questions that some of you might have about that or our new partnership with Candid. We will be giving away one summit registration at the end of this meeting. So you have to stay on the call till the end to be eligible. So keep that in mind. And we're going to keep you on for that one reason now, but you're going to learn a lot today. We're going to see your team members and we're excited to have you. So thank you for joining us. And with that, I'm going to introduce Ben Bullock, our Vice President and COO, who's going to talk about this Candid partnership.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Ben Bullock, and we have, I think everybody knows about GuideStar and perhaps about the Foundation Center. What you may not know is that those two organizations merged some time ago to create a new organization called Candid. And they're still doing a lot of the same work that they were doing as separate organizations now together. One initiative that they have embarked on that we have joined them with is one to encourage our nonprofit members to fully fill out their GuideStar profiles or their Candid profiles now in order to get to that gold level status. And that status does require giving some information about the demographics of your board and your senior leadership in your organizations. All of this is to let us collect some data and get a sense of where we are from the nonprofit sector perspective about board diversity, about the diversity of the senior leadership of the staff in the organizations. And so from Together SC standpoint, as we continue to talk about racial equity and diversity, this is very important to us as well. And so I want to introduce Catalina Spinel from Candid, who has been working with us on this project to tell you all the lovely details.
Great, thank you, Ben. Thank you for the introduction. Welcome, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with you. Thank you, Together South Carolina, for allowing me to be here. As Ben mentioned, I'm going to be doing a very quick overview about Candid profiles and how you can claim them. And then I do want this to be a conversational, so please do start entering your questions. I did see already somebody ask about Candid names, so I'll make sure to answer. And after my brief presentation, we will have some time for Q&A. So please, I will encourage you to start putting in your questions. And if not, we'll cover them during our Q&A. So I'm going to share my screen. I would also say that I'm going to be sharing a lot of information. And I say that because, again, explaining all of the content that I have, we could spend more time, but just I'm going to do a condensed version, just taking into account that we're going to be having only a couple of minutes. Okay, so let me share my screen. And then let me put this here. So you should be seeing my screen, correct? Just thumbs up for me to see. Okay, good. Thank you, Alex. So hopefully with this session, you're going to start telling your nonprofit story using your Candid profiles. As Ben was mentioning, Candid is a fairly new organization. We are the joining forces of GuideStar and Foundation Center. And what we do is that every year, millions of nonprofits spend trillions of dollars around the world. And then Candid finds out where that money comes from, where it goes, and why it matters. And then through research, collaboration, and training, Candid gets you the information you need to do good. A couple of things you might not be aware: we are a 200+ employee, and we have the largest teams of technologists and data scientists in the social sector. Our tools for nonprofit foundations and grants are the most comprehensive in the world. And some of our resources include Candid Profiles, which I'm going to be talking about today, GuideStar Pro, Foundation Directory. For those of you that don't know about Foundation Directory, this is a very powerful tool to understand fundraising, giving, and for nonprofits to find possible prospects for grant making, APIs, and then Candid Learning, where we have all of our fundraising curriculum. And then we also have online librarians that you can ask questions around how to find funding. We also have our funding information network of nearly 400 libraries, community foundations, and nonprofit resources where nonprofits can access our services. And we have over 400 partners within the social sector more broadly. And we're very excited that together South Carolina is one of those partners. So again, thank you for your partnership. We appreciate it. So what are we going to cover in this quick time together? Why you should claim your profile on GuideStar.org. What we're going to talk briefly of what each of the seals of transparency signifies. How can you earn the seals? And then how your organization information can be shared with over 200 plus charitable sites, including Amazon, Smile, and Facebook. So what's a nonprofit profile? As you know, the IRS regulates our sector, and many of us have to file the 990. So our profiles go beyond the IRS data. For those of you that are not familiar, we do have the 1.8 million nonprofits in GuideStar, and that includes also private foundations. And we do use the 990s as a source for information. But the profile, in addition to the IRS information, provides the story, and then that's when we say, and why we encourage nonprofits to claim their profile, because that's, you know better what you're doing. So there's only that much that the 990 tells. So we encourage nonprofits to share additional information. And then the idea is that through your profile, then you can provide insights of we provide insights of millions of nonprofits, and then there is meaningful data for people to make decisions on their grant giving. And then I've already said the information that complements the 990. So we do have seals of transparency, and I'll talk about this briefly. We have bronze, which is the easiest to claim, and this is just so donors can find you. Basically, you need to share your website and contact information. And I think that should take no longer than 10 minutes for you to file. As we move, we have silver, and this is information and brand details. So it's going to help you it's going to help users guide their funding decisions. Then we have the gold transparency seal, and then here you're sharing financial information and leadership information, which includes demographic data of your organization. And then here you're gaining trust and support. And then lastly, we have the platinum seal, where you could share your impact and strategy. Again, I won't stop into the details, but I would say we do have, and then I'll share it on the chat somewhere where we have the questions for each of the seals. The idea is that we value transparency, and to the question of why we decided to become Candid, I think that wants to reflect of that idea that we are direct. One of our values as an organization is that we are direct, but then also encourage. I think both our legacy organizations had a long history of encouraging transparency. So I think that we wanted also to capture that with our name Candid. So I'll answer that question there. I'll have a stop here. And I did want to make a check. Are there any other questions in the chat? No? Okay, good, just checking. So what are the benefits for nonprofits of earning a seal? As I said, I think it builds trust. It builds a trusted identity online for free. You're going to increase the visibility on GuideStar and our 200 plus partners, and then it's going to save you time, as you'll have in one place the most critical information of your organization. The other thing that we've seen is that transparency seal matters. We have seen that nonprofits that have earned their seals have received more contributions and were stronger organizations. As I said, many donors, whether that's individuals or foundations, use GuideStar to inform their grant giving. So what we've seen is that on average, organizations with a seal got 53% more in total contributions. And again, I'm not going to stop, but we will share this presentation if you want to dig deeper into the research and how we arrived into this conclusion. So I think that alone is already a very strong case for you why you should be updating your profile. So you want more people to know about the amazing work that you're doing. So I've mentioned briefly who uses the profile. I would share some. We have social media and tech companies. So we have Google for Nonprofit, Facebook, Amazon Smile, Salesforce, giving platforms also use our data, financial institutions, grant management systems, media and resources, as well as foundations and individual donors. One example of how your information is used, as many of you know, we're soon approaching Giving Tuesday. That's a very big day for the sector. And for those of you that have, and for those of you that are doing individual donations through Facebook, Facebook is one of those platforms that nonprofits use to do fundraising. We have seen that over 6 billion has been raised on Facebook and Amazon. 480 million users follows a nonprofit page on Facebook. Facebook directs potential donors to your profile for more information. So whenever you do a campaign, whether that's on Facebook, on Instagram, the information that you have in your profile is what users are going to see. So then again, the more complete information you're allowing for those users to see more information and again, know about the amazing work you're all are doing. And then just a couple of numbers of what happened last year. 386,000 donors did looked at Facebook and nonprofits last year, and we're anticipating this year the number is going to continue to grow. And then, as I said, November is big individual donor season. So just in November, 60,000 people looked at profiles during this time. So again, I think that's another reason for you to update your profile. How can you claim your profile? It is easy. There are 3 steps. The first one is access your profile. The second one is earn seals of transparency. And the third one is published. You can access your profile. You have to first sign in or create an account. The website is guidestar.org. And as you see here, when you go at the top right, you're going to see the create your account. We do encourage nonprofits to use their corporate, like their email that's linked to their website. We also do allow, once you're in, you search for your organization, then you validate that your connection with the organization. And we do this step because we want to make sure that we are allowing only people related to the nonprofit to update their profile. And once we validate your connection to the nonprofit, then you will be able to update your profile. The tip that I was mentioning, use your work email address when creating your individual account, because this is going to expedite the process of us allowing access to edit your profile. Once your connection is approved, log in to update your nonprofit's profile. You're going to see something similar to the screenshot. And then here you're going to see if you have already earned a seal, you'll see it here. But if not, you could just edit and start working on the profile. You can assign different managers. We are aware that sometimes in some organizations, different people update different parts. So you can assign different managers. We do have a benefits tab, and I'll share that a little bit later what you can find that on those benefits. And then donation reporting, there we do have a free donation button, and then sometimes nonprofits also use that. So if you use that button, then you're going to be seeing the donation reporting through your GuideStar profile. Again, when you go here, update your profile, and then you're going to do edit to start updating your profile. I would say the next step, now that you've access to your profile, is to earn the seals of transparency. I did want to make a stop and say that in addition to the benefits of the nonprofits, we have been working across the sector to do a couple of things. And the first thing is to empower nonprofits to tell their own story while gaining visibility. We also want to encourage reduced paperwork and administrative burden for both funders and organizations seeking grants. And then give partners quick access to more in-depth data. And I would say that because we are very aware that in the sector, as much as we're encouraging nonprofits to update their profiles, we're also working closely with funders and others for them to use GuideStar and then hopefully reduce the burden on nonprofits on the amount of information that has to be shared. I want to do a quick time check. How much time do I have?
So we are at 9:46. So we have about 4 or 5 more minutes left.
Perfect. I should be done. I just wanted to and I've seen a lot of activity on the chat, but I haven't had time to check. But then if there's any questions, Alana, maybe we could, are there any questions?
Madeline had posed a question, how important to an organization, and I wonder if there's any other organizations on here about how important has your profile been with your fundraising efforts. Those who are on the call who might have an updated profile, if you can kind of give a testimonial to that.
Okay, I think that's not, I would say,
yeah.
But like I would say I could share a couple of stories. I do know Measure is one of those organizations. And we do have a video of her giving out her testimonial, but then she did update her profile and she did receive 25,000 donation after she updated her profile. So again, it's not part of this network, but then we love to hear those stories. So if anybody else has those stories, please do let us know.
Hey, Lisa, you at Charleston Animal Society is such an active online giving and social media presence. What's your experience been? Has the profile been helpful? You want to? Yeah.
It's extremely helpful. And while I'm not the executive director, as many of you are on this call or at that level, I am tasked with our seal of transparency. I'm tasked with the GuideStar, Charity Navigator, Candid, and Better Business Bureau. So those things are quite important to monitor. And I think the confidence that donors have in their giving as transparent as you can possibly be, it opens up the doors to opportunity. It helps people have confidence in their giving. And that can't be emphasized enough. I put in the chat, the first thing people do is Google us. I mean, that's the world we live in. So, and I hear from my foundations that that's the first thing that their board members do. So when they're considering an application, it's very important. Right now, it's a little tricky because of the merge, because GuideStar, Charity Navigator, and Candid, there's like this rebranding that's occurring. So, but it's very, very worthwhile because nationally and international funders always look to these seals. So it can't be emphasized enough.
Thank you, Lisa, for your testimony. I appreciate that. I would say, just to wrap it up, I did want to share 2 more things in terms of the benefits that I was mentioning. I did want to say here, you can find the guide of the questions that we have. And then for those of you nonprofits that are smaller than 1 million in annual revenue or expenses, if you earn your 2022 gold seal, you can access for free a 1-year subscription to Foundation Directory Essential, which I think that this is a great, again, one of those efforts of us becoming candid and how we are using both of our legacies products in order to serve the sector and be more equitable. You might not know, but roughly 75% of the nonprofits are smaller than 1 million. So I think that this is great for many of them to have access to these tools. The other thing is we have seen that as nonprofits are reaching their platinum seal, sometimes they struggle or have a hard time determining what their metrics are. We have the common results catalog to help those nonprofits that might not know or that are seeking for inspiration on what their impact measurements would be. So again, I think that this is another great resource. And then just to wrap it up, access your profile and your seals and publish. We have seen that many nonprofits do go through the whole process only to forget to publish. So then the information that not go through, and then changes can take up to 15 minutes to show up. So just be mindful of that. And then share your accomplishments. You can go to the benefits tab. You can find ways of you to share your profile, whether that's your seal, whether that's on social media, on newsletters, on your website. And then here are some of the examples of how other nonprofits are sharing once they earn their seals. You have the Seals of Transparency guide that I'll share, and then bookmark the help.guidestar.org. We have online librarians answering your questions and or through email. And I think that's it. I'll stop here, and then if anybody has questions, do let me know. I'm here. I believe we have like 2 more minutes, Alana.
Yeah, well, and we can, if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. But, thank you so much, Catalina, for joining us today. We're thankful for this partnership with Candid and all that's going to come of that. I know when I worked with Justice 360, which was a prior organizations, one of the things I did was set up that profile, and it definitely generated revenue for us through the online giving. And so that was a big win for us. So if you're a small organization, I definitely, if you don't have it set up, make sure you're doing that. So it might start to trickle in. You always got to start small to grow it big, but it's definitely worth it to grow those base and have that credibility. So I'm not seeing anything. Thank you, Catalina. We appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone. I would say I will share via the chat the presentation. It might have additional slides, so we dig a little deeper on what each of the seals are. I would also provide my email, so if anybody feel free to connect with me, and either myself or I'll guide you to the right person at Candid. And then thank you again for having me here.
Thank you. And we'll be talking more about this partnership as we're moving forward. This isn't a one-time thing. It'll be ongoing. And this is just the beginning, really. So yeah. So now we're going to transition. I'm going to introduce Madeline McGee, who is our president and CEO. Many of you know her. She has been working very hard on building this summit this year. And I'm going to kind of hand it over to you, Madeline, and let you take it to talk about our 2023 summit.
Excellent. Catalina, thank you. And we'd love to have you and Candid at the summit in March, if that would be a chance for folks to do it. I was trying to get a sense of how many on the call had profiles, but Ben, you collected that data when we were starting the partnership. Is it your sense, do you remember what % of our members have profiles on Candid?
If you give me 1 minute, I'll look. I would want to give you the exact number. Give me 1 second, and
I know that Catalina knows that number. Okay. I do not remember it off the top of my head.
So, just to close out that presentation, folks, I think the takeaways for you should be, if you don't have a Candid profile, start the process. The presentation will help. Ben will help. The online assistance will help. And then once you've started the process, work towards getting as high a level as possible. And that includes submitting some of this demographic information that our partnership is about. And that will allow us to better project what's happening in the entire nonprofit sector. So we really want to encourage you, and we'll be sharing this in the development peer network as well, but this is a real opportunity. So quick show of hands. I've got my box gallery up. So if you're on screen, I'm just wondering who's been to the Nonprofit Summit before? Just raise your hand, or your little hand that comes up in the corner. We got a few growing. Yep, it's been there. Few. No? So Hillary, you haven't ever been. Okay, let's do it this way. If you haven't ever been to the summit before and you're thinking about going this year, raise your hand. Okay, so we've got some people thinking about going for the first time. Well, you're lucky, because we're changing it up this year. And often what happens is people register thinking it's going to be just like it was last year, and they don't pay attention to the details, and they get there and they go, wait, we're not doing it the way we did last year. You don't, those of you that are going for the first time don't have that problem. So let me tell you what we're planning. First, March in Columbia, right? Downtown Main Street, wonderful hotel, the Marriott. We've been there many times. It's right near the Capitol. And that's what we're going to take advantage of. It's sort of like 3 events in one. And so we're branding it as the Nonprofit Summit Plus, because we really want to emphasize that each day is unique. So don't just sign up for all and think, okay, when I get there, I'll figure out what I want to do or who from my organization should attend. You need to pay attention to the programming in advance to decide when you should be there and who should be there with you. And what we've designed is what we call 3 days for CEOs plus. So executive directors, we think all 3 days will be beneficial to you. And it will give you the chance to work with different parts of your team. So on Tuesday, we're going to have what we all are used to and value so much, those tactical sessions, the networking opportunities over lunch, the real chance for our development staff, our operations staff, people to dig deep on specific issues. And Debbie Nelson, if you guys know Debbie, she's done so much of our wonderful programming, is taking the lead on that day. And those sessions will be announced in detail when we open registration in November. Then on Thursday, we're doing what we did last year, which is we're having a full morning for CEOs and executive leaders and the board members. We haven't done a lot for board members lately because of COVID. So this is a real chance for your leadership team to engage the board leadership team and encourage them to come and be part of it. Anyone here know Charles Weathers? Nancy, I know you do. Charles has worked with us for many years on our new exec program. He is going to be leading Thursday, and it is going to be a full morning of conversation about building a genuine partnership between the leadership of your organization at the staff level and the leadership on the board. So that's going to be a wonderful session going 8:30 until I think it's 12:30. In the middle on Wednesday, that's our day to engage our government and corporate partners. We are ending the day with a legislative reception. It's already on our legislators' calendars at the Columbia Art Museum. If you haven't been to the Columbia Art Museum, it's one of the most wonderful art museums in our state. And it's a wonderful place to have a party. But we're starting the day with a keynote speaker, then a series of breakouts, then the chance for you to go to our state capitol and call on your legislators. And don't worry if you've never done this before, because we will have advocacy activities from first time, never been before, want to go with someone else, show me the way around, to I know my way, I want to organize my people, we want to go speak specifically to certain people about certain legislation. So this is our day to engage our partners, our corporate leaders, and our government partners. And the keynote speaker we're having is someone that you may say, why should nonprofits care what they have to say? Our keynote speaker is Tom Barkin, who is the president of the Richmond branch of the Federal Reserve Bank. And if you know the Federal Reserve, they set monetary policy for our country. And with inflation being as uncertain and as impactful as it is right now, their work is key. But in addition to that, they do much around economic development and community development. And Tom, who is the CEO, is a firm believer that we as nonprofit organization leaders need to be part of that economic development ecosystem. And we think that's a message that our government leaders and our corporate leaders need to hear. And so he's going to start the day, and then we're going to break into, and GP McClear, if you guys know GP, who runs our advocacy efforts, he is designing Wednesday. And so there'll be a session on services for veterans where we will bring in the Veterans Agency and nonprofits working on veterans. There'll be a session on housing, session on, I think there are 8 different sessions that we'll have So you can come together with people working on issues you care about, not just your nonprofit colleagues, but your corporate colleagues. We'll have folks from Boeing there. We'll have folks from our philanthropic partners there and our governmental partners. So it's a big widening of our circle to invite folks to join us in this way. We haven't done it before, but we think it's really important for them to see us in action as a team, our sector-wide efforts, and to work with them. So that's a very quick overview. Reactions, questions, hear from you, because you still have a chance to inform this conversation and inform the design. That's one of the reasons we wanted to hear from you. So either put it in the chat box or raise your hand and let me know what you're thinking. Nina, sounds so exciting. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and Madeline, there's a question from Revival Ministry about, you know, if the board members are out of town and they're not able to be there, if we're doing any of the sections live, or maybe they can come in virtually.
We are not doing that. You know, a lot of people are going to both, but we really want this to be an engaging, there's going to be a lot of roundtable conversation, and that just doesn't work in a virtual setting. But, you know, we know that working with board members is an important part of this work, and we are getting back into that work. We hope this is going to kick off more activities. But I do want to remind you that one of your free member benefits is a chance for your CEO and board chair or chair-elect to have a conversation with me about your whole plans for strengthening your governance work. Because we're firm believers that there's no point in having that board retreat or getting going on board education and board recruitment till your board chair is part of the planning efforts and engaged in it. And Nancy's shaking her head. She knows this. She's heard it through CLS. We're big believers. You got to start with that board chair. So if your organization is tackling some governance issues, you know, remind your CEO, or if you're the CEO, be sure to reach out to us and see if we can help you get that conversation started with your board chair.
We're very excited about the summit this year and what's going to be happening around that, and the focus on advocacy. And we hope you are too. Ben, I'm going to bring you in to kind of talk about the registration and what that looks like, and when we're opening it up.
Sure. I was wondering, did we decide we weren't going to share the website just yet?
Right.
Okay, so our registration rates for the summit this year are reflective of I'm trying to pull up the information for my own self here. They're reflective of the fact that we are really positioning this event as 3 different events on consecutive days, and so we're pricing it in a way that makes it very affordable for organizations who are attending maybe 1 or 2 days, and then for their executive director who may attend all 3 days. So for Tuesday, the 7th, the day with CEOs and their teams and their staff, that is focusing more on professional development for staff, and working with our peer networks, the member rate for that day will be $125. The non-member rate will be $225. That's going to include lunch on that day, and the networking event in the afternoon. Then on Wednesday, March 8th, that will be the big day for the conversation about public-private partnerships, the big keynote with Tom Barkin, as Madeline said. That day is going to include breakfast, lunch, and the legislative reception in the evening. So the member rate for that day is going to be $165 for the day, and the non-member rate will be $240. And then on the third day, Thursday, that will be the day for board development, and that's going to include the reception the night before, the legislative reception the night before, and breakfast on that day. And so, like Tuesday, that cost for that day will be $125 for members and $225 for non-members. And so It is certainly possible to purchase tickets for all 3 days for one person. That can definitely be done. But this is being presented more as a la carte, which is a change from previous years. So we want to make sure folks know about that and can plan that accordingly. And then those rates are going to be posted on the Summit website for folks to take a look at. And then we're going to open up registration for the Summit in about 2 weeks on November 7th. That's the day we are targeting for opening registration for members. And then we'll open registration for non-members in January. Did I miss anything?
No, so I thank you, Ben, for that overview and costs so that you all can think about working that into your budget for next year. You know, again, we're so thankful to be part of this community and to be able to gather together as a community again this year in 2023. We're looking forward to everyone joining us. Does anyone have any questions about the summit or the format? You can pop them into the chat or
I do see Nita has her hand raised.
I'm not sure. I think that might have been from earlier.
Oh, okay.
But Nita, did you have a question?
Hi, yes, that was from earlier. Hi, I'm Nita Donald from Upstate Area Health Education Center. Our regional offices in Greenville, South Carolina. Our program offices in Charleston at MUSC, and Ann LaFave is our leader at the program office. My name is Nita Donald again. I'm the executive director. And the question that I have now is, what is the total cost for the summit if you want to participate in everything?
Ben, are you answering? There you go.
Yeah, sorry, I had to. I'm bringing out the calculator here. Because we as I said, we've been thinking about this as 3 separate events that are on consecutive days, and so the total cost at the member rate right now is $415. So if individuals wanting to attend all 3 days, that would be the total cost right now.
Nancy beat you to it, Ben. She put it in the chat.
I never trust my own head to factor numbers in my head. I always want to double check the calculator. Certainly,
Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to add, this is Debbie Nelson,
Debbie.
is, and I think Madeline emphasized this, but the 3 days is for CEOs primarily. And just to understand the way it's been divided, that really is probably the audience that would attend all 3 days. Hopefully that clarifies it too. For
But staff could come Tuesday and Wednesday, you know, if they wanted to, if they're advocacy folks and they want to engage in the program work. It's really designed. And then board members could come for Wednesday and Thursday. So the CEOs have to do the heavy lifting. They'll be there the whole time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, as always, you know, we have for so long, the summit was up. Is there room rate discounts? Ben?
I'm going for the room rate because I'm realizing we didn't tell anyone. And I'm not seeing where it's posted on the website, Brooke. Oh, it's $179. That for 1 or 2 people, it's $179. You guys are getting the first view because we haven't gone live with all of this yet. So you're getting the inside scoop, which means we don't know it as well as we should.
Well, like I said, as always, we are excited about the summit, and that has been our keystone event for so long. But over the past 2 years after COVID, we realized we wanted to expand our programming as well. So I just want to remind you all of, you know, our peer networks that we have had going on. If you're not have not joined one, I encourage you to join them. We have, you know, from operations, development, equity, our Black Nonprofit Leaders group is active and going, and it's a large, wonderful group to engage in. We also have, I'm missing a couple, I don't have the list in front of me, but, you know, I encourage you to look at those, engage with those. They're wonderful groups. We have upcoming events that are free and part of your membership. If you are a member, if you're not a member, please, you can stay on the line if you have specific questions. If you're not a member and would like to join and get engaged more with us, but we've really worked to design virtual opportunities to network and learn. So, because we know it's hard to travel and we know it's hard to be in person, and we've been really ramping up. So we want you all to take advantage of those opportunities. So I'm just gonna, November 2nd, we have legal lessons, impact of pending wealth transfers coming up. So if you're not registered for that, we encourage you to join us for that. November 13th, we will be together with our advocacy allies in Columbia, meeting in person for election takeaways and networking. And so if you're in the Columbia area and want to join us for that, please do. In December 2nd, we're going to do an in-person operations training, tools for recruiting and hiring talent. That will be in Columbia. It's a 4-hour training. It's going to be a great program, and we hope that some of you will take advantage and join us for that. And there is a fee for that, just because we are bringing in, you will have lunch. It is an in-person learning, but it's a quick kind of 4 hours, and that is a $50 fee attached with that. So those are just some things that we have coming up, but I am putting in the chat the link for those events, so you can, look at them and keep that link, because we are always updating it. We have events ongoing. So if you can't make it to the summit, engage with us in these other ways. So now it's time for the giveaway. So those of you who have joined us, I've already kind of put you in the queue, and I'm going to do a little random number generation. And the prize, just so you know, is registration for 1 day at the summit. So you can pick which day you'd like to register today. And it's Growing COB. Are you still on the call?
Mhm.
And if you can,
I am. It's actually Anitra Hardy for South Carolina Legal Services.
Okay.
I have another.
Hey, how are ya?
Hey, Pat. I'm good, but thank you.
All right, Anitra. Thank you.
All right.
So we will follow up with a call. Feedback. I'm going to put you back on mute.
Okay.
We'll follow up with an email to you to connect and get that all taken care of. And then I just wanted also to remind everybody on the call today about our association healthcare plan that we launched in January. We currently have over 180 members' lives being covered by that plan from our launch, which has exceeded our initial goals for the plan. If you are not familiar with it, I encourage you to reach out to us about that. You have to be a member to join. You have to have at least 2 employees to participate, but you don't have to, be a member to inquire about it and see if it would work for you. So we encourage you to, bring that to your leadership's attention, or think about exploring that as an option for your organization. And then I also want to remind everyone about the student loan forgiveness. I think the deadline, Ben, do you want to talk a little bit about that and the deadline and what we have available for that?
I'll be quick because the deadline is soon. It's the end of the month. If you have not submitted your application form for public service loan forgiveness, if you have got the federal student loans that qualify for PSLF, even if you don't, fill out that form, get it in by the 31st of October, because the temporary expansion, the forbearance, the relaxation of the rules that will let you get some of those different kinds of loans, there's different kinds of repayment plans, there's different kinds of things that weren't very clearly explicitly stated way back in the beginning, like 12 years ago. You've got until the 31st to get that form in. to get that those payments counted under that exemption. We've got recordings of past webinars about that. If you've got questions, give me a call. I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. The form is like 2 pages long. You just got to fill it out, get your executive director to sign off on it, and send it in and see what happens. But that relaxation of the rules ends on the 31st. I got mine in. I got my payments on my different loans certified. I am targeting for February of next year to be done with this.
We're gonna have a loan burning party when.
Yes, it worked for me. It can work for you.
Do you want to share, Ben, what you think you'll be saving?
Oh yeah. Right now my loan balance is like $95,000.
Just to explain what that means, Ben will have worked for us for 10 years on November 7th. And so that is like an additional $9,000 a year in compensation that we have been able to give him because he has qualified for that program and worked in the sector. So, and it doesn't have to be for one organization. It can be for, multiple, as long as you process it. But if you're an exec and you don't know what your employee's situation is relative to their student loan debt, it is appropriate. It is the right thing to ask and make sure that they are not missing this opportunity for you to assist them. Excuse me. Sorry, Ben, I interrupted you.
No, that's perfect.
We did have a question in the chat from Deanna. And she asked about, is the program for employees only or for board members, volunteers as well? And Deanna, what can you clarify on what program specifically you were asking about?
I was talking about the student loan forgiveness, because my organization, we're relatively new right now and we have volunteers and board members, but no employees.
Yeah. So to qualify for it, you need to be employed full-time for a government agency or a 501c3 organization for while employed in such a state, you need to make 120 monthly payments on your student loans. That's 10 years. So if you can do that consecutively, or you can do that over the course of a longer period of time, depending on how your employment history worked out. But you need to have essentially worked for 10 years and made payments for 10 years whilst employed full-time in the nonprofit sector. There are lots of different ways that can be sliced and diced, but unfortunately, volunteer service does not cover that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, does anyone have any, and Grant Maddox just added, or 2 part-time qualified organizations?
Yeah, if you work for 2 organizations part-time and the hours add up to full-time, you can count that too. Like I said, there's a lot of ways to kind of slice and dice it, but the gist is you do need to be employed.
Yeah. Any other questions about what's going on? I mean, we have a lot going on, and we're thankful for all of our members and your participation in what we're doing and in being part of the sector. So I'm looking. All right,
if we got 10 minutes, if anyone's got something that's keeping them up at night, they want to try and tackle or talk about, maybe you were about to say this, stay on the line.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any questions or want to talk about with us, with our team, one-on-one about anything, you can feel free to stay on and ask, and we can have those conversations. But for those of you who have learned all you want to learn this morning, we can let you go and have 10 more minutes of your time. So we thank you so much for joining us. I know I'm going to be following up with some of you directly. We appreciate you and the work that you do in this state. So thank you.